Today I seen a tweet about the NBA playing where they compared the ninth and 10th seed fighting for a playoff spot as two homeless people trying to fight for free McDonald's. You know, and when I seen that, I said that's crazy. But I'll be honest with you, he ain't even lying for real. Because today we just seen the Heat and Hornets play their butt off and had a competitive, honestly, 48 minutes of hoop plus more, plus OT. For them to kind of get smacked in the first round. But I'm glad that the Hornets went ahead and had won. No shots to the Heat, to any Heat fans or anything of the sort. I do believe that the Heat being a key, being like the last member of the trio of the Hawks, Heat, and Bulls, of the playing trio for the past couple years, kind of get bounced out pretty easily. The Hawks made the playoffs. The Bulls decided to fold their cards and decided to get out the playoffs. The Heat are the only team that kind of stayed in the middle and remained as a playoff warrior, and they ended up losing in the first round. And again, if I am a Heat fan, I'm kind of happy. Sucks that I don't get to see my team play anymore, but this team needs some real reconstruction. And hopefully, if I'm not wrong, their draft pick that will be in the lottery have a chance to jump up higher, because they do need I believe a franchise altering player. And do I believe they could get in this draft? Who knows? Who knows? We seen a Mavs jump last year. We seen a Spurs jump beforehand. Who knows? If you get an AJ, you get a Darren Peterson, you trade away a Powell or a Hero, and you put that could be something. I'll be honest. But that game was cinema. Seeing Kobe White hit the corner three, hit the green FN, Peter Griffin shot in the corner. Seeing LaMelo game winner, seeing Wiggs went ahead and he put 22 on, and I thought I had to wipe my glasses that I don't have, thinking that might be Jimmy Butler that I just seen. He had a three from the left wing that was like, oh no, he's on one. And he was honestly getting some easy buckets. And it made me realize as I'm watching this game, and then as I'm about to get to the Suns and Portland Trailblazers game, is that the playing really utilizes, you could really see there's tiers to this. There's tiers to the upper echelon of playoff teams and the teams that are trying to get in. Unless you're an anomaly like the Heat, and if you have a player like Jimmy Butler, who will take their game to another level, for the most part, the playing kind of exposes some of the things that could happen to the team whenever they make it to the playoffs, especially if they're playing, the 1 seed or the 2 seed, but the 1 seed we're gonna say. Right. So if we use the Hornets and the Heat as an example, I think the Hornets offense kind of can get stale. The Hornets had played a pretty good. They won the game, and I'm glad they won the game. There's a couple of times in this game, especially in OT, that I'm kind of surprised that the game was closer than it needed to be. I think the Hornets offense could get 2-3 point heavy, where I'm seeing a lot of pump fakes from the perimeter, and you're just taking a sidestep three. I would really love it. LaMelo, today he balled out. Honestly, he balled out today. Had dropped 30, 35 and 10. Didn't shoot it well at all. Shot 16 threes and only made 2. I see that he shot 16 threes, and I think a lot of those could have been up fake, take the mid range, or up fake, hit a floater, or up fake, draw, drive and try to draw the foul. You only got 4 free throws, and the Hornets they do get a lot of pump fakes on the perimeter, and a lot of the time the defender does jump, and it's just a sidestep three, and sometimes they hit them and sometimes they don't. And that's the beauty of the Hornets. That's really just the beauty of the Hornets, because if they're hot, they're going to light you up, but if they're not, it's going to be a slugfest. The offense is going to look off at some point. Kobe White came in. Kobe White was a perfect addition to this team, and this playing game showed why. He can be a breath of fresh air, a spark of offense. I think he is honestly on this team, one of the better, maybe if not, if it's really crazy to say it, the most well-rounded offensive player on this team, where he could shoot the 3 ball, drive, and is willing to take the mid-range, and is a decent playmaker and is a good ball handler. I think there's times at this game that kind of Coby White utilized and showed why he's important in this game. I seen a stat while watching the game. The first half he only scored about 2 points, and then the second half he had 17. He ended the game with 19, so around give or take. And he showed why. He showed his whole offensive. He put his balls on the table, especially hitting that corner 3. I'll be honest with you. Early in the shot clock too. That shot clock was off, and he shot that very early. I'm surprised. That is a ballsy ass play, if I'll be honest with you. But it is Alec Jacoby White, if that's his full name, or Alec Coby White. Hey, props out. That's been my guy. That's been my guy since he got drafted out of UNC and everything. Khan didn't look too good or anything like that. I really did like to see Moose. I really like seeing Moose play. Honestly, I think the bigs have played pretty well. I don't know why we've seen so much Grant Williams. I'll just be honest, but I digress. Going to the other game, the Suns and Blazers. This game helped me reinforce my feelings of, yeah, the playing is good. I like the playing. I love the playing. And it's really a taste of playoff basketball, especially for teams that are youthful and have yet to experience a playoff atmosphere that they have a real fair chance of winning, and also showing the flaws of certain teams that might be middle of the pack. While watching the Suns and Trailblazers, I realized that the Suns' offense is pretty bad. Devin Booker is not a reliable number one. I'm not gonna say not anymore, but he has not been a reliable number one. There's a lot of times at the end of this game where I would think the Trailblazers running away with it, and the Suns will come back, and vice versa. The Suns will go ahead and go on a run, and I think they'll run away with it, and the Trailblazers will go ahead and come back. And I don't know how this happens. A lot of dumb shots Devin Booker had taken. My problem with LaMelo that I just mentioned in the earlier on, with LaMelo taking a bunch of threes, Devin Booker took so many bad mid-range shots that, I genuinely just didn't like him. Devin Booker only attempted 2 3-pointers. And Devin Booker's Devin Booker has a reputation of being at least a decent 3-point shooter, a good 3-point shooter. While this year he's been pretty decent. I would like him to attempt more threes, because the contested mid-range shots are not going in. So it's not working. The final play of the game, where he drove, passed it out to Jalen Green, and Jalen Green was hot. I really thought Jalen Green was going to hit that the way that I seen shots go in today. But, it's certain shots that I would really love Devin Booker to take. And at the end of the day, that is what the play-in is this right here. If the Suns make it to the playoffs, this is going to get shown even more. This is going to get exposed 10 times more, I believe, because teams are now going to be even more hyper-focused onto your flaws and your play style and what you like to get, what you like to take. Devin Booker's going to keep taking his mid-range shots. Dillon Brooks got teed up. I like Dillon Brooks' energy. It's crazy that he got teed up over clapping, but, it is what it is. There was a moment here when luckily the Trailblazers won this, but there was a moment here where the Trailblazers were on a run, and then Donovan Clingan. Wow, I was blanking. Donovan Clingan got also attacked too, and kind of made the Suns have get closer into this game, which you did not want to see, because they were starting to run away with it. But if we go into the Trailblazers side, it was honestly the same thing, where the Trailblazers would go on a run, and then out of nowhere their offense would just dry up. Their offense consists of they're non 3-point shooters. I seen a possession where Drew Holiday, I think maybe Danny might have drove, passed out to Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday swung it to Toumani Camara to swing it to Jeremy Grant to the corner. Jeremy Grant missed it. They got the rebound. Did the same thing again. Passed it to Drew Holiday, swung it to Kamara, and then swung it to, this time, Robert Williams, and he shot the 3 ball. And I'm like, that's what they want. At some point, even I think it was 3 times that they did that. And I'm talking about the same 3 possessions. This was the 3rd time or the 2nd time where they was hesitant to even pass it to the next one. It was like a hesitance to pass it, and then he passed it. You know, it's not in the flow of the it doesn't speak lack of confidence, but it just shows that the Trailblazers are not a 3-point shooting team, and that's completely fine. Last year we seen a non-3-point shooting team win the championship. The difference is, Danny had a good game. When you look at the box score, he had a great game. Danny might be one of those players that I have it's like a litmus, if that's the correct word for me, a litmus test. Because I'm not sure how to gauge Danny's play. Danny, he does a lot of 2K animation Euros. If you know, you know. He does a lot of 2K animation Euros, and he gets the foul on them, which is, some of them is kind of egregious. But he does drive, so I will give him credit that he drives, and he might drive the most in the league so far. Right now this season, I'm not fully sure, but if not, he's in the upper echelons of doing so, which, if he does drive the most, he does deserve some whistles. And there's going to be times where the whistle is undeserving, but it's because he's driving so much. He might have got a missed call or whatever. But he is kind of a strange player in my mind, because I'm not sure what he can be. He kind of like maybe like a Josh Giddey variant, but maybe just a better player in general. Where I'm not fully sure how to gauge him as an NBA player. Again, 41, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, shot 13 free throws, made 8 of them, shot 8 threes, made 3 of them, shot 68% from the field, and he drilled a lot. He got downhill so much in that in the game, where it's like, I'm intrigued to see how this team looks next season when Dame comes back. Because when Dame comes back, Danny, you're moving to the 2. Danny, you are the second option. I don't think this is Dame's city. This is Damian Lillard's city. Though he's coming off a torn Achilles, those certain moments, I'm intrigued to see what it can be. But at the end of the day, this is this team's first step into a playoffs. A lot of these players have not played meaningful basketball either ever in their career, at least meaningful NBA basketball either in their career right now, or have been done so in some year, like Jeremy Grant for an example. Seeing Jrue Holiday be on this team, Jrue Holiday is important. Man, he is so important. I can't wait to see, honestly, this team next year, because a Dame and Jrue backcourt is going to be amazing to see. I think Jrue Holiday would be the perfect 2-guard for Dame. I think Jrue Holiday, honestly, is the 2-guard Dame's been wanting for his whole entire career. He just had the offensive, not the offensive version of him, but the offensive side of him, which is CJ. So I'm really intrigued to see how this team looks next season. But they play the San Antonio Spurs. I'm excited for the San Antonio to see that against the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs, for the most part, are more than likely going to beat them. And I was trying to think, like, out of these two teams, out of the Suns and Blazers, who would I really think could potentially try to make an upset or prolong the series into at least 6 or 7. And both teams kind of, like, are wishy-washy. I think with the Blazers, I'm not going to lie to you, the Blazers can't really shoot threes, and so Wemby's going to feast. Klingen's going to have to be big in this, and Klingen's going to have to be big against the Spurs, because Klingen's going to have to be a body. Klingen's going to have to really provide, all the centers themselves are going to have to provide some sort of impact on the court, because if not, Wemby's going to feast. The shooter's going to have to shoot. Kamara, you're too many cameras. You're going to have to hit your shots. I'll be honest with you. You're going to have to hit. Danny, you're going to have to hit, because going downhill against the best rim protector ever we may have seen is going to be very hard to do. While the Suns, on the other hand, have to play against the winners of the Clippers or Warriors that we're going to see tomorrow, and that's going to be intriguing, because if the Clippers end up just falling out completely, they're going to be a 7th seed that fell out the playoffs. Now that hasn't been a thing for too often. If we go over here, the 7th seed never had not make it to the playoffs. Every 7th seed so far that of the playoff existence, which was for the first game of 2021, had ended up making the playoffs. And this Suns team potentially could be the first time that they don't, because the Suns team is going to go up against either a Clippers team or a banged up Warriors team, which I don't expect to happen because what I heard that Curry's on a minute restriction. I'm not necessarily. I would love to see the Warriors in the playoffs, especially against the Thunder. I think it's gonna be magical. But if we just scratch in the Clippers versus Suns is gonna be a great game, and I think it will be a interesting game to see if the Suns end up losing, a 7th seed end up losing. I know a lot of fans. You know, the plane has two sides, two fans, two everything. You know, the fans that really love it, that really love having these lower seeds or having teams have an opportunity or a chance to make it in. While the other side is, which I could completely get if I'm a fan of one of these 7 seeds or 8 seeds, is that like, man, we spent all 82 games trying to get here, to get the seeding, and then now we have a chance to lose it if we lose 2 games. The Suns, all the work that they done, all 82, they made the playoffs. Like, they made the playoffs. All the work that they done could go out the window because they lost 2 games. And here's my answer to that. You deserve it. If you can't win 2 games against teams that are lower than you in the standings, then you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. What at the end of the day, like the tweet I said at the beginning, it's 2 homeless people trying to fight for free McDonald's. The McDonald's ain't that good anyway. You know, McDonald's is not that healthy for you anyway. It's just fulfilling. You can make the playoffs and hey, it's fulfilling. We made the playoffs. You could say you made the playoffs, but did you really like eat good? Did you really do something? No. And I think, you know, that's how I feel about some of these teams. I think honestly, all of these teams other than the Charlotte Hornets, which I think is the reason why all 30 fan bases are kind of rooting for the Hornets, was no, I don't think anybody expect the Hornets to win anything, but we would all love to see a young team make it to the playoffs and at least make an attempt to see something. And if that's what you want, you know, that's what you want out of a young team. From personal experience, and I hate that I always bring this to the Thunder, and this is one of my things, one of the pros of the play-in, and I think that is kind of undermined with the play-in because some of the same teams, especially Eastern Conference, kept getting in over and over and over, is that in 2022, when the Thunder, before they became the 1st seed that year that they lost to Dallas, they played in the play-in, and that was their first taste of playoff basketball. They played against the Pelicans and had ended up beating the Pelicans, but ended up losing to the Timberwolves in the next round, and they ended up getting bounced. They were the 9th or 10th seed. But that taste of playoff basketball, that little bit of taste of playoff basketball to a young team is something that, and they, again, other than Shea and Lou Dort, nobody else on that team had really experienced any taste of meaningful basketball. And even Shea and Lou, well, more Shea, but even like again with Lou, like for the most part they haven't played playoff basketball. Shea had some against the Warriors. Lou had it all in a bubble. The feeling of a playoff atmosphere is different, and you've seen it in Charlotte. You've seen it in these playoff playing games at Phoenix. That this is the middle ground between the regular season and playoff. This is like, it's the final stop before we head into playoff basketball. The atmosphere is completely different, and you get a little bit of taste of it. And as a young team, and also as a fan of a young team that wants to see their team experience that. There's fans that maybe have never experienced anything like that. There's Hornets fans that never experienced a good Hornets team. And though they're going to be the play-in, and though they're not going to, you don't expect them to upset anybody. You want to see Kong, you want to see B-Mose, you want to see LaMelo, you want to see these players in a winning situation. A playoff situation, that's all really. You just want to see them in a playoff situation to build upon that. And I think most teams end up building upon to either win or loss. We looking at 2021 right here. The Indiana Pacers went ahead and made the play-in. They were the 9th seed, but they ended up making the play-in. That's a taste of playoff basketball. You know, Memphis, they made the play-in. Now in 2022, I would assume that the Grizzlies were banged up because they were the 8th seed this year in 2021. They're the 8th seed in 2021. I'm assuming, apologize for the lighting change. But you want to see these younger teams. You want to see these younger teams have opportunity to see what they can go ahead and do. And there is times where you can get some great playoff basketball. I don't remember the Spurs making the play-in 2022. I gotta watch that. But all that to say, the play-on games so far, out of the first 2, have been amazing, have been wonderful, came down to the wire, and it's been intense, and it's getting the refs geared up for playoff basketball. And that's all you want as the fans. That's what Adam Silver wants. That's what Amazon Prime wants. That's what that's really what the league needs, and that's what the league wants. And I'm glad. It was good games. I can't wait for tomorrow, and I especially can't wait for when the playoffs start. I'll be here to go ahead and talk about every single playoff game that I'll try to during the playoffs this year. Have some interesting talks about it, have some interesting takes. I'm intrigued on how certain teams are gonna, work their way up. There's a lot of legacy on the line and everything. I appreciate you making it this far. My name is Bean. If you ain't know, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one.